Greetings everyone old and new, welcome to Haseo Reviews. You may have noticed a couple of things if you've been watching my previous reviews and my social media posts. First of all, this isn't a review of a movie made in my home state of North Carolina. I was planning on having that out by Christmas, but due to scheduling conflicts with my collaborator for that review and me not wanting to take another eternally long hiatus from the show this channel is named after, I've put it on the back burner until both of our schedules can align for long of us to get some serious work done on it. Secondly, my voice sounds absolutely atrocious due to me having a cold. Third,
I have a way of getting stuff off my camera now, so I no longer have to use those chibi avatars as a crude way of representing what I'm currently feeling. So, why Sonic Adventure of all games? Well, it's 2019, it's the 20th anniversary of the International Dreamcast launch, I've got new hardware for capturing high-quality Dreamcast footage, and most video reviews I've seen, apart from the extremely comprehensive review by Some Call Me Johnny, only cover the GameCube remake, Sonic Adventure DX. I figured that for the 20th anniversary of Sonic's proper jump into 3D, spin-offs like Sonic R and Sonic 3D Blast don't count, we'd take a look at the Dreamcast version and see if it still holds up 20 years later. But first, time for a little history.
Sonic Adventure began development in 1997 for the Sega Saturn after the catastrophic development and eventual cancellation of Sonic X-treme as an attempt to finally give Sonic fans a true 3D Sonic game to rival Super Mario 64 and Crash Bandicoot. However, due to the Saturn's general failure worldwide, development was quickly shifted to the upcoming Dreamcast. What little work was completed on this Saturn incarnation of Sonic Adventure was included in Sonic Jam as the Sonic World game. Sonic Adventure director Takashi Iizuka proposed the idea of a story-focused, RPG-styled Sonic game to then Sonic Team head Yuji Naka. Naka approved, and Sonic Team flew to Central and South America to research ancient ruin locations in places like Machu Picchu, Peru, Tikal, and Chichen Itza for inspiration. Naka wanted to make stages that would take upwards of 5 minutes to complete, but would still keep that old-school Sonic feel to avoid alienating fans. After creating some basic maps, he got the idea to allow other characters to go through these levels and, combined with fan mail requesting a character with a gun, and executive demands from Sega that there be something to provide breaks between the intense action, led to the multiple character gameplay and creations of E102 Gamma and Big the Cat respectively. Another idea that Iizuka pitched was for a secondary villain that was not only separate from Eggman, but had a design that could not be pulled off on any console except for the Dreamcast, eventually settling on the shape-shifting water monster Chaos. Apparently, at one point, Iizuka actually had good ideas that moved the franchise forward, instead of obsessing over Wisps and Green Hill Zone. Finally, the returning characters were given new designs drawn by Yuji Uekawa that would work better in a fully 3D environment, as opposed to the more compact, simplistic Genesis designs that were meant to be viewed from the side as 2D sprites. Sonic Adventure launched with the Dreamcast in 1998 in Japan, in a rushed, unfinished state. Both Sega and Sonic Team were unhappy with its quality, and rather than just translating and dubbing this version for international audiences, possibly dooming the Dreamcast right out of the gate, they decided to enhance the game for its 1999 international launch, and this version would later be re-released in Japan as Sonic Adventure International.
This is the version that I'll be reviewing, and in order to provide the highest quality footage possible, I'll be using the Pound Technology Dreamcast HD link cable to capture 640 by 480p footage over VGA. Hey, have to test out the new capture card somehow, right? Before I dive into the story, or stories, let's cover some ground rules I'm going to be setting for how this review is going to be structured, because there is a lot to cover here, and I know you don't want to be stuck with me all day. Rather than trying to Frankenstein together a coherent narrative out of 6 different perspectives that all take place at the same time but have conflicting interpretations of events, I'm going to be covering each story individually, followed by the final story, and then my thoughts on the story as a whole. Second, I won't be covering the much-loved Chow Garden because, while it is a fun side activity, it's not integral to the overall experience of this game, and the version presented here can be summed up in one word: archaic. Third, I won't be covering DLC like bonus racetracks and holiday events, cause hey, I have to draw the line somewhere. And a lot of this stuff is either hard to come by or lost to time due to the servers for the game being shut down years ago. Anyway, if you don't want to have this 20-year-old plot spoiled, skip to the time on screen.
Sonic's story opens in the city of Station Square at night, with Sonic running and jumping across the rooftops. He notices the police heading towards City Hall and decides to follow after them. He witnesses the police failing to fight off a mysterious water monster and jumps in to fight it himself. After defeating the monster, it runs away with Eggman
Silence! I am Dr. Robotnik.
overlooking and gloating about his new partnership with Chaos, the god of destruction. The next day, Sonic is relaxing by the pool when he notices a plane piloted by Tails flying by and crashing on a nearby beach. He goes to rescue Tails, and Tails explains to him that he was testing out a new type of plane that is powered by a Chaos Emerald. Sonic offers to let Tails use his plane, the Tornado, as a guinea pig, and the two head off to Tails' workshop in the Mystic Ruins, but are stopped by Eggman, who challenges them to a fight in an attempt to take their Chaos Emerald. After soundly defeating him, Eggman steals the Emerald anyway. He summons Chaos and feeds him the Chaos Emerald, causing him to transform. He then explains his plan to gather all 7 Chaos Emeralds, feed them to Chaos, and use him to destroy Station Square so he can build Robotnik Land in its place. He then promptly leaves, and Sonic and Tails set out to gather the rest of the Emeralds before Eggman
Silence! I am Dr. Robotnik.
finds them. After finding 2 more emeralds, Eggman gasses Sonic and Tails and steals one of them. They eventually run into Knuckles, who attacks them, thinking they have something he wants. Sonic and Knuckles fight, and in the ensuing scuffle, Sonic drops his Chaos Emeralds like a doofus, easily allowing Eggman to claim them and feed them to Chaos. After defeating Chaos 4, Eggman summons his new flying fortress, the Egg Carrier, and escapes. Sonic and Tails chase after it in the Tornado, with Knuckles staying behind. Fun fact, during this section of the game, Sonic has his Sonic Jam model instead of his regular adventure model while on the Tornado. Unfortunately for the heroes, the Egg Carrier's weapons are too powerful, and it shoots the Tornado out of the sky, separating Sonic and Tails. Sonic lands on the beach near Station Square and goes to look for Tails. He instead finds Amy, who promptly begs him to protect this bird she found. Sonic, being the hero and friend to all woodland creatures he's known to be, tells her to piss off. Amy, showing signs of the clingy, obsessed stalker she started to become in this era, decides to forcefully tag along with him anyway. They're ambushed by one of Eggman's robots, but before Sonic can bash that bucket of bolts, Amy notices that Twinkle Park is having a cute couples get-in free special and darts in without asking for input from Sonic.
So if only cute couples get in free, does that mean that they'd be opening themselves up to a discrimination lawsuit if a couple that wasn't cute enough got turned away? You gotta think through these promotions, people.
Sonic runs after her, loses sight of her, and goes on a wild goose chase throughout Station Square trying to find her, eventually seeing her being carried away by the robot from earlier toward the Mystic Ruins. Sonic chases after it, but it teleports onto the Egg Carrier before he can rescue Amy. He chases the Egg Carrier through the mountains and is picked up by Tails in the newly built Tornado 2. They chase the Egg Carrier and disable its weapons with the Tornado 2's new battle mode, but due to Tails forgetting to install landing gear in battle mode, they crash land on board the Egg Carrier.
IQ on par with Eggman, ladies and gentlemen.
They approach the bridge of the ship, but before they can reach it, Eggman
Silence! I am Dr. Robotnik.
transforms it, cutting off their access and leaving them with no way to reach him, except for the alternate Skydeck route, which Eggman helpfully points out to them, as if he's trying to sabotage his own plans. They make it through the Skydeck and onto the main deck of the Egg Carrier, where Eggman has just gotten another Chaos Emerald from Amy's bird. He then summons his newest creation, Gamma, to destroy Sonic. The two fight, but before Sonic can finish him off, Amy intervenes, begging Sonic to spare Gamma, claiming that he helped her escape. Sonic, understandably confused and probably 100% done with Amy's bullshit for today, agrees. Tails notes that the Egg Carrier is losing altitude and will crash at any moment, and Sonic goes to confront Eggman while Tails takes Amy to safety. Sonic fights Chaos 6, defeats it, and escapes the Egg Carrier before it crashes, chasing after Eggman. Sonic lands in the Mystic Ruins jungle and is directed by a mysterious ball of light to explore an ancient temple. At the heart of the temple, Sonic finds a mural depicting the destruction of an ancient civilization by chaos, and the ball of light appears to teleport him to the past, where he sees the aftermath of the events depicted on the mural, before being abruptly sent back to the present. Sonic enters Eggman's
Silence! My full name is Dr. Ivo Robotnik.
hidden jungle base to battle him one last time and defeats him. He celebrates with Tails, and the credits roll. Tails is testing out his plane. It crashes, he's rescued by Sonic. It's pretty much the same plot as Sonic's for a majority of the game, except rewritten so Tails fights all the bosses and generally steals the spotlight. When Sonic and Tails are separated after the tornado is shot down, Tails has this weird, muted flashback. I think it's supposed to be when he first met Sonic? I'm not sure, but that's my best guess. He decides to finish his Chaos Emerald powered plane prototype, and searches for another emerald to power it, eventually stumbling upon one that's promptly stolen by a weird-looking frog. Tails chases after the frog, gets the emerald from it, is teleported to the past, meets the ancient Echidna tribe princess Tikal, is warped back to the present, and is fucking bum-rushed by Big the Cat, who startles poor Tails and makes him drop the frog. The frog leaves, Big chases after it, and, in my headcanon at least, Tails decides to delete that memory from his brain so he can focus on building his new plane. He finishes the Tornado 2, meets up with Sonic at the mountains. We've covered this ground already, and everything progresses the same until the egg carrier starts to lose altitude. Tails carries Amy back to Station Square while Sonic goes off to fight Eggman, and when they land, they see a distraught and broken Eggman. Yeah, I'm not doing that joke anymore, it'll get old real quick. Eggman falls back on Plan B now that Chaos has been defeated. Fucking nuke the whole city, holy shit! Fortunately, the missile is a dud, but Eggman is determined to destroy Station Square, even if it kills him in the process, and hurries to the crash site to detonate the warhead manually. Tails beats him to the crash site, has one final showdown, and the day is saved. Knuckles is monologuing to himself about his duty as the guardian of the Master Emerald in Angel Island, when suddenly, the Master Emerald shatters! Chaos appears from the shattered Master Emerald and escapes. Without the Master Emerald to protect Angel Island, the island falls from the sky and into the ocean. Knuckles vows to find all of the scattered pieces of the Master Emerald and restore it, starting his search in Station Square. After gathering some shards, Knuckles is teleported to the past by the Ball of Light, where he sees Tikal begging the Echidna Chief, whose name I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce, not to wage war on other nations, before suddenly being sent back to the present. He sees Eggman carrying what he presumes is a Master Emerald shard and follows him. Unfortunately, it's not a piece of the Master Emerald, but a Chaos Emerald.
Wait, Knuckles, you're just gonna let Eggman keep the Chaos Emerald? You know this guy's a villain that's always collecting them for some sort of evil plots. Why don't you just kick his ass and take it before he wrecks something?
Anyway, Eggman summons Chaos and gives it the Emerald, transforming him into Chaos 2 and ordering him to fight Knuckles. Knuckles defeats Chaos, but before he leaves to look for more Master Emerald pieces, Eggman tells Knucklehead that Sonic has a piece of the Master Emerald. Knuckles, being an idiot, believes him, especially once he sees Sonic carrying a green stone, because obviously there isn't a green Chaos Emerald. Knuckles and Sonic fight, same stuff that played out in the Chaos 4 section of Sonic's story plays out, and Knuckles heads off to find more Master Emerald shards. He's warped back to the past where he sees Tikal talking to the unseen guardian of the Master Emerald Shrine. Back in the present, Knuckles places his collected pieces back into the broken Master Emerald, but it's still not complete. He sees an image of the egg carrier inside the Master Emerald, indicating where the final missing pieces are. Knuckles sees Gamma landing nearby, trails him to Eggman's hidden jungle base, and sneaks on board the egg carrier. Knuckles gathers the final pieces of the Master Emerald and, say it with me now, is sent back to the past. This time, he sees the aftermath of an attack on the shrine, speaks to Tikal, and warps back to the present.
Get used to this time travel stuff, folks, because future games handle it way worse.
Knuckles meets up with Sonic on the deck of the egg carrier, defeats Chaos 6, returns to Angel Island, restores the Master Emerald, and monologues some more. Amy's out grocery shopping in Station Square, whining about how bored she is, and reminisces about the events of Sonic CD. You know, the one where she was kidnapped by Metal Sonic, held captive, and Sonic had to rescue her. She prefers that over a normal life.
To be fair, so would I.
The egg carrier flies over Station Square and a bird escapes from it, crashing into Amy. Amy creatively names it Birdie and vows to keep it safe. Right on cue, one of Eggman's robots, Zero, no, not that Zero, chases her and Birdie, but they manage to escape. Amy runs into Sonic, and the plot plays out the same as the relevant section of Sonic's story.
Boy, good thing I can just say that to avoid repeating the same plot points over and over.
Amy sits in her prison cell aboard the egg carrier, and Gamma enters, demanding that he
Give me the bird.
Right here, buddy. Sorry, couldn't resist.
Through the power of love and cute birds, Gamma suffers a logic bomb and decides to free Amy and Birdie. Amy is sent to the past by Ball of Light Lady and sees Tikal meeting the Chow. Back in the present, they escape to the deck, Eggman corners them, takes Birdie's Chaos Emerald, and more previously covered plot points occur. After Tails takes her back to Station Square, Amy decides that she needs to be more independent. She takes a look at the locket that Birdie has around its neck and sees a picture of its family. She vows to reunite it with its family, first searching Eggman's jungle base. They find nothing, making this part absolutely pointless. It dawns on her that since Birdie escaped from the egg carrier, Birdie's family might still be on board. She heads to the crash site, where Birdie is reunited with its family. But then Zero comes back like a bad itch and knocks Birdie out of the air. This angers Amy, she destroys Zero, Birdie is fine, and it flies off with its family. Amy proclaims that she's going to become stronger and win Sonic's heart no matter what, and her random events plot comes to an end. I'm gonna be frank here, Big's story is utterly inconsequential, but for the sake of this review, I'll still cover it. Big's frog friend Froggy accidentally swallows Chaos's tail. Now possessed by a water god's tail, Froggy steals Big's Chaos Emerald and runs off, with Big giving chase. Big catches and then subsequently loses Froggy several times until he ends up aboard the egg carrier after Gamma snatches Froggy from him. After catching Froggy again, Mysterious Lightball Lady trademark teleports Big to the past, where he witnesses Tikal speaking to the Guardian of the Master Emerald Shrine. Back in the present, Big takes Froggy up to the deck of the egg carrier, where he encounters Chaos and Eggman. Chaos absorbs both his tail and the Chaos Emerald Froggy swallowed, absorbing Froggy along with them. Big saves Froggy from Chaos 6, escapes the crashing egg carrier by hijacking the Tornado 2, and this complete waste of time is over as soon as it started. E102 Gamma is brought online by Eggman in his jungle base and put through basic training. Afterwards, he's ordered to battle his predecessor, E101 Beta, in a fight to the death to determine who gets to serve on the egg carrier. Gamma easily wins, but Beta begs Eggman to allow him on board too. Eggman agrees, and the egg carrier lifts off. Eggman orders his new E-Series robots to search for a frog that swallowed Chaos's tail. Gamma searches the Emerald Coast and finds Froggy. Shiny Mystery Ball of Light Lady trademark teleports Gamma to the past, where he meets Tikal and the Chow. Back in the present, Gamma presents Froggy to Eggman. Pleased with his creation's success, he next orders Gamma to get Birdie from Amy in the prison cells. Gamma, however, accidentally wanders into the wrong room, where he sees the horrifying sight of Beta being continuously assembled and disassembled. He leaves the room and then enters the prison, and the story carries on like Amy's from here, until Gamma escapes the crashing egg carrier. He rewrites his programming, making his new objective the liberation of the animals trapped inside the other E-Series robots. He goes on what's essentially a heroic genocidal rampage, eventually ending up back on the egg carrier for a final showdown with the rebuilt, upgraded Beta. He defeats Beta, freeing one of Birdie's parents. Gamma then self-destructs, freeing his own bird, completing his mission.
Okay, that's each of the solo stories covered. Now let's see how it all comes together in the final story.
Turns out Chaos survived the egg carrier crash and has located the Tornado 2. He ambushes Eggman, who flees for his life. Angel Island falls again, and Knuckles wonders why, believing that the Chaos Emeralds he brought with him might have something to do with it. He decides to take them to Sonic for advice, but sees a distraught Eggman. Before he can say anything, they're both attacked by Chaos. Sonic is relaxing under a tree, and Tails runs up to him to tell him that Angel Island has fallen again. Sonic decides to investigate, and comes across a barely conscious Knuckles and Eggman. Knuckles informs Sonic that Chaos is still alive. Eggman angrily flees, swearing vengeance on Chaos, and Sonic is warped back to the past again by Magical Shiny Mystery Ball of Light Lady trademark LLC Incorporated. He sees Tikal begging her father not to attack the shrine and the Chao, but he ignores her pleas, ordering his soldiers to charge, injuring the Chao in the process. The guardian of the Chao and the Emerald Shrine, Chaos, finally appears, and absorbs all of the Chaos Emeralds to wipe out the invaders, going on a destructive rampage. Sonic walks up to an injured Tikal, who uses the power of the Master Emerald to seal herself and Chaos inside of it, to put a stop to the destruction. Back in the present, Tails tells him that they need to find the Tornado 2's Chaos Emerald before Chaos does. They find the crashed Tornado 2, but Chaos gets the Emerald first. Chaos becomes Perfect Chaos, flooding and utterly devastating Station Square. Sonic looks on at all the destruction as Eggman shows up in a second egg carrier to attempt to destroy Perfect Chaos. He fails miserably. Enchanted Magical Shiny Mystery Ball of Light Lady Trademark Incorporated LLC DDS MLA HD DD VV DVD appears in front of Sonic, revealing herself to be the spirit of Tikal, who has been guiding everyone the whole time. She says that Chaos is distraught and enraged and needs to be stopped, as if the fact that he destroyed a whole city isn't proof enough of that. Perfect Chaos ejects the Chaos Emeralds, which have been seemingly drained of their power. Tikal states that Chaos must be sealed inside the Master Emerald again, but Sonic points out that sealing him again won't solve anything, because if he's ever released again, the same thing will keep happening. Just then, everyone else shows up with the Chaos Emeralds, and Tails explains that Chaos only drained them of their negative energy, and that Sonic should still be able to harness their positive energy. He does so and becomes Super Sonic, defeats Perfect Chaos, and returns him back to his original peaceful self. Tikal approaches Chaos with the Chao in tow, explaining that mankind and the Chao live in harmony now, and that he no longer needs to be angry. They poochie themselves away. Tails insensitively states that all's well that ends well, even though the whole bloody city is in ruins! And Sonic runs off in search of more adventure. With that, the story of Sonic Adventure comes to a close.
Okay, that was a lot more than I usually have to cover in these plot summaries. So, now that we've covered each story, let's critique it, shall we?
Sonic Adventure's plot, despite being leaps and bounds more in-depth than any Sonic plot that came before it, is still pretty basic when you get down to it. Eggman has an evil plan that requires the 7 Chaos Emeralds, Sonic and friends stop him, the day is saved. Honestly, the fact they stuck with the same basic plot structure as the Genesis games, but just fleshed it out more, was a brilliant idea for the first story and dialogue-heavy Sonic game. Some characters could have honestly been completely gutted to speed up the pace a bit, like Gamma and Big, but I'll at least defend Gamma's inclusion, because rather than doing something that advances the overall narrative, it's more of a side story about machines becoming self-aware, and I'm honestly a sucker for those kind of stories. Big still serves no purpose, though. Not even gonna attempt to defend that train wreck. If there's one thing I'd say could be improved, it's the segments we see of the past leading up to Chaos's first rampage. Tikal's father is really the instigator of it, but he barely gets any screen time. Adding in a few extra scenes that show his discovery of the emeralds, and his obsession over them and eventual descent into villainy, would have had more impact than just having him be a twat in every scene we see him in. Presentation's mixed, and unfortunately, it all depends on whether you're actually playing the game or watching the cutscenes. In-game, the models look nice if a bit simplistic, such as characters not having individual fingers like they would in later 3D Sonic games. Animations are good and fluid, environments are bright and vibrant, the design of Eggman's robots still retains that classic Genesis-era feel with them all being animal-based, and that soundtrack by Jun Sonoe is absolutely absolutely killer. Each area's theme music is catchy and lively, and each song fits its locale perfectly, from tempo to instrumentation. Character themes, on the other hand, are a mixed bag that range from delightfully cheesy to surprisingly somber to utterly ear-grating. There's a noticeable drop in quality or a noticeable increase in quality, depending on how you look at it, during the cutscenes. They're all animated with in-game models, but they're done incredibly poorly. Characters awkwardly snap from idle stance to action poses, they run in place for a few seconds before they actually move, their movement speeds don't actually match their animations, and their faces twist and contort every time they speak. As the first Sonic game to be fully voice-acted, it honestly could have been worse considering the standards set by video game voice acting in the late 90s, but it's painfully obvious that the English dub was a ragtag operation without any proper direction going on. Lines aren't emoted properly, either being too hammy or too underplayed, audio mixing is awful, certain characters have severe clipping issues, and overall it's filled with
No surprise!
There are a few standouts in this cast though, like the late Dean Bristow as Eggman, Steve Brody as Gamma, and of course, the fan favorite Ryan Drummond making his debut as Sonic.
Fun fact time with Hotspot. Big the Cat was voiced by Duke Nukem voice actor John St. John. He allegedly hated the role so much that he has forgotten how to do the voice for Big on purpose.
The gameplay here is a mixed bag as well, with each character having their own unique style, as was common in the 90s and early 2000s. Some work well, some are okay, some are outright atrocious. Sonic's gameplay is clearly the highlight here, being a simple trek from beginning to the end, smashing robots, picking up rings, and going fast along the way. These stages tend to be more flashy than others, with several of them having unique set pieces, like Windy Valley's Tornado or Speed Highway section where you run down the side of a building. Sonic retains most of his Genesis moveset here, being able to run, jump on enemies, and spin dash. New to his repertoire is the homing attack, which allows him to do an air dash attack at enemies and chain it across multiple targets. Its usefulness far outweighs anything else Sonic can do, so I found it becoming my primary form of attack, and it's remained in his moveset in every 3D Sonic game since. By finding certain items in the game's 3 hub worlds, Sonic and the other characters can gain new abilities, with Sonic in particular gaining the light speed dash, the light speed attack, and a reduced charge time for both. I never really found myself using these moves apart from sequences that specifically required them, because they're too clunky and time-consuming to set up, and it's just quicker and easier to run, jump, and homing attack your way through everything. Tails levels are abridged versions of Sonic's, where the goal is to reach the end before Sonic, or Eggman in the last level, beats you there. Pretty straightforward, and your opponent always moves in a predetermined path, so I never found myself in danger of losing. Tails retains his flight power from the Genesis games, and gains a new melee attack where he spins around and whacks enemies with his tails, which can be upgraded to a continuous spin attack with the Rhythm Badge item. Knuckles' levels are wide open environments where he has to find 3 pieces of the Master Emerald that spawn in random locations. To help you find them, you have a radar on the bottom of the screen that beeps faster and changes colors the closer you are to an emerald piece. You can also touch it to call Hint Marker to have her point you in the direction of an emerald piece if you're stumped. Knuckles can glide and climb up walls like in Sonic and Knuckles, and gains a new 3-hit punch combo, and the ability to dig once he finds the equipment for it. These first 3 characters, I feel, have the best gameplay out of the main cast. It's structurally solid, levels don't go on for too long, and you're well equipped for what you need to do. From here on out, it starts getting iffy. Amy's goal in each stage is to reach the exit balloon at the end of the level and grab onto it while being chased by Zero throughout the stage. In between, she'll have to do some basic platforming and puzzle solving in order to progress. She can use her hammer to destroy enemies and temporarily stun Zero, but she can't permanently destroy him until her final fight with him. Her levels are harmless, but pretty boring overall, and she only has a handful of stages to complete, making her story one of the shortest. Gamma's gameplay is a third-person shooter where you have to reach the end of the stage and defeat the boss enemy at the end before time runs out. Gamma can gain extra time by destroying chains of enemies, so if you know what you're doing, you should never be in danger of running out of time. Gamma fights enemies by first locking onto them with a targeting laser, then releasing a barrage of missiles to destroy every highlighted target. They're pretty fun, but unfortunately his controls are a bit too twitchy for what the designers wanted you to do. To round out our main cast, we have Big. It's a fishing game, and a really bad one. The goal is to catch Froggy, so just sit down by the water, cast your line, and wait for Froggy to bite. Sometimes he'll let go because you weren't sitting in the right spot and he hit a wall. Sometimes he'll automatically swim further away with nothing you can do about it, and sometimes he'll just refuse to bite and the game does a poor job of explaining how everything is supposed to work. Thankfully, Big's campaign is mercifully short. Finally, we have Super Sonic, who's only playable in the final fight against Perfect Chaos. He's invulnerable to damage as long as he has rings, and his ring counter ticks down every second. When it hits 0, you lose a life. The goal is to build up and maintain enough speed to ram through Perfect Chaos and damage him, but if you're too slow, you'll be ejected from his body and he'll be unharmed, but you'll have wasted precious time. Chaos is no slouch though, so he constantly attacks you, trying to slow you down and, again, make you waste precious time. In addition to levels, there are 3 hub worlds to explore and minigames to play. The hub worlds are neatly divided up into sections that are visually distinct from each other, making it so you won't get lost easily. If you do get stumped about where to go next, there are Tikal hint orbs placed in specific spots that will tell you where to go next to advance the plot. Minigames vary by character, but aren't anything particularly challenging, although snowboarding has some questionable controls, and the Hedgehog Hammer game is too fast-paced for how slow Amy moves. Now let's recap here. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all play great. Amy is boring, Gamma is okay, and Big is just trash! Super Sonic is only there for one fight, but he plays sufficiently well for what he needs to do. That's half the game I love, 1/3 I dislike, and 1/3 I'm just okay with. The 90s kid, nostalgia-filtered Sonic Adventure fanboy in me wants to give this a big pass, but I'm sorry, I have to be blunt here. If I'm gonna replay sections of this game for just something casual, I'm gonna just stick to Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles and ignore everything else. That's not really sign of a masterpiece there, is it? However, I will say this. The bad parts of Sonic Adventure are nowhere near as bad as some of the stuff we've gotten in years since. Nothing here is broken due to bugs and glitches, the levels aren't too short to justify a full retail price, they're just, I don't know, flawed? Luckily, this was an era where Sonic Team tried to learn from their mistakes, and they ditched the gameplay styles that didn't work in future games. Sonic Adventure is a good start to what ended up becoming Sonic's admittedly rocky 3D career, but over the years it's begun to show its age. Cutscenes that might have impressed in 1999 are laughable now. Half the gameplay is lackluster, and it suffers from an identity crisis due to trying to cram in too many gameplay styles. However, the parts that are good still hold up today. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles levels are a blast to play through, the soundtrack is outstanding, the in-game graphics are great, and I never ran into any major bugs or game-breaking glitches. Most importantly, I don't feel like I wasted my time playing this game. I can go back to it and still enjoy it all these years later. Meanwhile, Sonic Forces came out barely over a year ago, and I haven't touched it since completing it. You can tell this is a game made out of passion and drive, one that has a real heart and soul to it, not just Sonic Team cranking out another mediocre game in an attempt to maintain relevancy without making any strides to move the series forward.
That's the big takeaway I got from this, at least. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have a game you want to request, anything you want to say, leave it in the comments section below. If you like what you saw here, feel free to subscribe, and don't forget to click that bell to stay notified on when I upload. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with my goings-on. Check me out on Twitch for weekly live streams. And if you'd like to help support the channel, you can donate to me on Ko-fi for the average price of a cup of coffee and get bonuses that I'm working on. Before I go, I'd like to give a shout out to Alexander, a longtime fan of the channel that I recently had the pleasure of meeting in a Discord group. Lynn Rocker Plays, a friend of mine, frequent co-commentator on my live streams, and the designer of my Serve Body mode on my Twitch channel, and JKR Productions, a fellow Paradox Productions member, fellow amateur voice actor, cosplayer, and overall awesome dude. This has been Haseo Reviews, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.